All right, so we're going to work on breath technique a little bit. Some of you guys have said that perhaps you felt strain, perhaps you felt nauseous, or you had some very uncomfortable sensations while doing the breath work. And I think this will help to optimize the work that you're doing. You will feel discomfort when doing breath work, and that's part of the practice. But let's make sure that we have proper breath technique before I release the advanced video so you guys can feel prepared to dive into something more advanced. First, we're going to take a couple deep breaths. And the focus is going to be in breathing into our backs. So let's stretch out our neck a little bit on each side. You should be doing this every day. Just in general, it's good for you. I'm talking more to myself than anybody else here. Now let's just lean forward a little bit and feel that stretch down your back to your tailbone. Nice and easy, just enough of a stretch, no straining, no cranking. Now over to the side. Whenever you go into the side stretch, really breathe into that rib cage on the side. You'll definitely feel the stretch going down your torso. Again, nice and easy. We never want to feel any pain or push ourselves too hard. And the other side. Deep breaths. So first we're going to talk about anatomy a little bit. The two things that we're going to focus on today is the transverse abdominis, which is a deep muscle that goes across your stomach and around your back, and also the diaphragm, which, to picture it, think of a balloon that you've stretched across a flat plane that divides your thoracic cavity in half between your lungs and rib cage and the rest of your organs. So the way that breathing works is your diaphragm releases downward and allows and prompts your lungs to fill with air. If it helps to think of a syringe, when you pull back on that stopper and it fills with liquid, that's kind of what your diaphragm is doing with your lungs to fill with air. Now, the muscles that we use while we're breathing for proper breath support is the transverse abdominis. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. The transverse abdominis can be difficult to intentionally engage if you're not accustomed to doing this already, which many people aren't. So think of the Pillsbury Doughboy when you push on his little belly and the rest of him kind of puffs out around that finger. That's kind of what the transverse abdominis looks like when it's engaged. When you use the transverse abdominis, your rib cage should splay out to the side a little bit. So you'll see me holding my hands on my rib cage so you can see the difference in size of the rib cage just using the transverse abdominis. So first we'll have a visual from the back and you can follow along. Remember, we're breathing into our back. That's where our intention is. So place your mind there and that's how you engage that intention. And we're going to use our transverse abdominis to do this. So breathe in. Let all of that stretch all along your back. Let your back do kind of whatever it needs to do for you to really feel into that space. We're not thinking about anything else here. If you could see the front, my stomach and my chest aren't expanding at all, but I'm still getting very full breaths because the lungs are really more towards the back of the body. Very good. Now let's do another 5 breaths and you can watch from the side. Lift your chest up. My hands are here just to emphasize that I'm not breathing into my stomach and that my transverse abdominis is actually contracting inward to allow the whole process of the breathing happen. And you can see how much my back expands. And now again from the front, a few more breaths. Remember, always keep the chest lifted, but don't breathe into the chest. That's going to limit your breath. Breathe into the back. And you can see how wide my rib cage expands to the side with every breath. If you need to yawn, that's very good. Yawn as much as you need. Just always push that tongue to the front whenever you're yawning. Now you hear people talk about belly breathing, deep belly breaths or puppy breaths or whatever, terminology you've heard in yoga circles, breathing circles, meditative circles. This can be a little bit misleading because some of us might not associate that with a proper muscle engagement. So as you can see, I can push out my belly and that's what it looks like when you see other people do it, but I'm not actually bringing in any air doing this. When done properly, your belly can expand, but it is also your back as well. So what's happening is your diaphragm is being pulled down, creating this space. So yes, your belly can expand as that diaphragm drops, and you're still engaging that transverse abdominis, but you really want to expand like a balloon in all directions. Now I'll demonstrate the 2-part breath lying down first for anybody who prefers to lie down and do breath work like I do. So 2-part breath is a very common breathing technique for doing breath work and in doing yoga. They say, you'll hear it said to breathe into your belly and then into your chest. So what we want to do is practice using the proper muscle groups and the proper way to think about it and feel it within your body. So you can see my belly rises and it looks isolated, but I'm breathing into my whole back as well. And then you see my chest expand. What's happening in this 2-part breath is I'm breathing into the bottom of my lungs, so it's allowing my belly to expand, and then I focus on filling the rest of my lungs all the way up. So then my chest expands, but I'm breathing into the wings of my back. So let's do a couple more of those. Into the belly all around the lower back. And then fill it all the way up like an air tank into the chest, but really into those back wings of your rib cage. And I'll demonstrate it for people who like to sit and for a better visual. So expanding all the way around, you can see how the belly seems to fill up, but it's the lower lungs, and then up into the chest and around the back, and then release everything. Many of us have a habit of breathing into our chest, which is actually going to create strain and added unhelpful tension throughout our thoracic cavity when breathing, and it's going to limit our ability to use our full lung capacity. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I look forward to seeing you during the advanced video.